radio, management or advertisers of this station.
You are listening to WURD, rapping professor filling in for the great brother Shamari Groundings. We're going to start it off right. Brother Donovan West is going to talk to us about the Business Resilience Series at the Fox School of Business at a wonderful university that I call the best school in the world, Temple University. Welcome to the program, good brother. And as you introduce yourself, please begin by talking a little bit about what the Business Resilience Series is and how it came to be.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate that, good brother. I love the work that you've done and continue to do in the community. So thank you again for doing that. And also, more importantly, the work that you're doing in terms of letting our youth know that it's cool to be into school. Real rap, pun intended, by the way. Anyway, so moving right along, Business Resiliency Series. It's a it's a passion of mine to identify ways that we can further support our small business community. One of the things that came out of that is just this project here, the Business Resiliency Series, which helps to I guess put into I guess another perspective how you're really digesting this this crisis as a business owner. Mm-hmm. So before you are a business owner, you're a person. And as a person, you have feelings, you have emotions. There's a lot of different roles and responsibilities, titles that you have before you even become the business owner walking out the door. Mm-hmm. There's you, a man. There's you, a black man, right? There's you, the brother, the son, the father, head of household. It could be, the power of attorney. Depends on who you are, right? Depends on who you are in your journey, but there are a lot of different things. There's you in terms of your preferences. There's you in terms of your culture. There's you in terms of your religion, right? So there's a lot of different layers to how you're seeing the world. And then there's you, the business owner. So for you, the business owner, what I'm doing is I'm creating an environment, a safe space for you to unpack all of that, really take some serious inventory, and then start to look at what is it that you need to build a more resilient business. Now, if you are a person in this space where you get a lot of emails, or you work with a number of different organizations that may help businesses, like Temples, right? Fox School of Business, their Small Business Development Center. You may get a ton of these emails about this workshop and that workshop on how to, improve your business, how to start up your business or whatever. And a lot of it is technical assistance. And there's nothing wrong with technical assistance. You need to know about QuickBooks. You need to know about the right kind of insurance to have, and your certificates and all that other stuff. You need all of those things, key pieces of information you're getting. But there's not much that deals with you, the individual, in terms of how you're even digesting this information. It's all coming pretty quick, pretty fast. There's this grant for that. There's this opportunity to get some funds from here. How do you describe your business? What decisions should you make for you, your staff, your family, all this other stuff that's taking place. So there's a lot coming, all at a quick pace. And so the goal is to give you an opportunity to really break some stuff down. And the Business Resiliency Series allows you to do that in a way of enhancing your critical thinking capabilities, emotional intelligence, right? Gaining a bigger perspective on who you really are and what all your resources are. And then now becoming really strategic in terms of how you're addressing this crisis for your business. And the reason why I say that, in terms of assuming that you're going through some kind of crisis, is because 95% of small businesses were impacted negatively by COVID-19. 95% of businesses. So it's safe to say that if you're part of the 5%, God bless you. But you may be experiencing a different kind of crisis, right? One of abundance, one where you didn't scale up to address the fact that you became an essential business during the most essential time in our history, right? And so now you may have all other types, issues in terms of growing up too fast, right? They call that growing pains. It's not just physical, it also happens to you in your business. So how are you dealing with that in terms of growing a way that's still going to be reflective of what your vision is, and also making sure that you don't have too many casualties during that growing pain in terms of, if your cousin was doing your taxes when you was making this kind of money, well, can your cousin still do your taxes now that you're making that kind of money, right? Just little things to think about, right? That's big facts, right? Because the reality is you may need to go ahead and get some iced tea and sit your cousin down and let him know that there's levels to this, right? But the point of the matter is
and every level don't involve your whole family being a part of the business.
Facts, right? At some point, I'm sorry, cousin, you might need to be a spectator at this point. But it's no love lost, but the point is where we are, right? For the greater good. And so the whole point of the Business Resiliency Series, it's about strategically breaking down. It's a 5-part series. So it has different components in each series. And then also what I do during each series, I give you a little taste, a little piece of my case study. I'm the case study during it. So I give you a little piece of something amazing that took place in my space and how I broke it down. So I'm not just looking at things in terms of concepts and keeping it out there. I'm giving you a little slice of my journey in the midst of it. So you get to, peer into my life, and I give myself as an example, and how I had to do certain things to shift, to pivot during 2020, and what many businesses may need to do or take some part of it to apply in their space.
Now you said there's five components to the series. I know people always talk about like the elements, in hip hop. They talk about these elements. So without saying too much, can you just tell us like an overview of the type of things that you look
Yeah.
at each, iteration of the series?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the first part is taking temperatures during turbulent times, right? And so that's about okay, you acknowledge that you're going through turbulent times, but what temperatures do you need to take? Now these things are related to all the different people and spaces that you're responsible. And often what typically happens is you go through a crisis, you respond to the crisis. So you're in crisis mode because you had to respond to it. Now the problem is that your state of crisis is going to be extended so long as you're responding to all the different needs during the crisis, as opposed to being proactive, right? Proactive is tied into being healthy, right? You take a proactive approach, right? Because you anticipate that there may be, but your goal is to avoid it by way of taking some action now. But in a crisis, you're always in this reactive space. So the minute that you react as the professor and you handle your situation, you talk to the dean of students, you may talk to your students from the various classes, that's great. But you didn't talk to, your tech person, the person that's in charge of your tech, because they're used to you doing maybe one Zoom a month, but now you have to do 6 a week. So you didn't talk about the upgrade that may be needed, right? So that's one thing you didn't do. In addition to that, you didn't change from your text to a listserv because now you have more classes, right? So every time you're reminded about another thing you need to do, you stay in that perpetual state of crisis, which means that you're stressed out for a longer period of time because you're in this great unknown during this time. So part of that taking temperatures during turbulent times is really being that much more intentional about understanding all the different roles and responsibilities you have up front. So the minute that the crisis happens, you respond to all the different, audiences that you need to talk to, right? In a manner that is nuanced to what the audience needs are, but it also shortens the period of time that you stay in crisis, right? And that makes it less stressful. And now you can make better decisions going throughout the whole process.
Now that's number one, right? That's the first.
That's just number one, right?
Now what's number two?
But wait, there's more, right? Like an infomercial. So then there's what just happened, right? Properly mourning the loss of your plans, right? Really getting into space again, something different, just offering something different to say, you know what? Often we are responding to crisis and we're handling stuff, right? We're the trauma surgeon, but we never get a moment to just decompress. Really, what just actually happened? And getting into that conversation and being more transparent and more vulnerable, because again, the more that we can do that and be present for a moment, the more we can bounce back and then be present for who we need to be present for, not just our friends and family, not just our staff, but everybody, right? You may have a conversation with an investor, and they're waiting for that new album to come out, and here you are, you're struggling. So what you do, you respond in a way that's probably not appropriate or not complete. Why? Well, because you're already at 10 already, right? So part of that is, again, how do you become a more effective leader? How do you become, a more effective employer, business person? And it really deals with having an opportunity to properly mourn the loss of your plans. Okay, now we need to shift. Well, if we haven't let go, more than likely the next idea we have may be related to that plan that we should have let go. So we're busy trying to do a version of it when we still haven't accepted the fact that we need to cut bait, right? We need to let that go and move into a different direction because the times may dictate it, not suggested, but dictate it. And sometimes we don't see that because we're married to that vision that we had, those plans that we had for our business. So for those
just tuning in, I just want to make sure that I update them because somebody might have said, "This is some great information. Where can I get more of this?" We're just going through, a little overview with Brother Donovan West. We're talking about the Business Resilience Series at the Fox School of Business at Temple University. And I'm going to let you know before we close out, how you can get involved to get some young people involved. I just want to make sure that we go through just the basics of some of the components that are going to be introduced and taught throughout the series. So right now, we went through taking your temperature and properly mourning the death of your plans. We're at number 3 right now for those just tuning in. Rapping Professor filling in for Brother Shamari Groundings. And number 3, good brother, I'm sorry.
No problem at all, no problem at all. So number 3 is air equals opportunity, right? Air equals opportunity. One of the things that, I had to share with a lot of businesses last year. Last year, during COVID. When COVID hit, I was the president CEO of the African American Chamber of Commerce for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And we were right there functioning as the trauma surgeon for businesses. You know, in many ways, I called it the great economic Katrina, you know, and that there were many business owners that were standing on the roofs looking for a trusted voice to be able to walk them towards, you know, to usher them towards safety. And one of the most common things I had to share with business owners is that the latest vessel for your business is dead, but not the business itself, right? You are the business, right? You are the business. So as long as you're here, right? As long as there's air in your lungs, right? There's blood in your veins. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's talk about the newest vessel to pour your business into, because you're the person. You're the missing component, and the missing component has just been found because we're talking. So let's talk about what that looks like and get you in the right, you know, get you in the right mindset to understand that once you properly mourn the loss of your plans, that's the loss of those plans, the latest vessel or the last vessel. But that was that chapter. New chapters about how you can be more fluid, right? And so, you know, air equals opportunity. Why do I use air, right? You get the bars with that already. I know you do, right? Air fills all spaces, right? It's fluid in that sense. So it can't just be crystallized and that's it. This is air. You're air. So as air, you can go into a new vessel, whether that vessel is you know, e-commerce based, if that vessel is going into, you know, the media component of your business and developing that kind of platform, if it's delivery, if it's a new set of contacts, potential customers, strategic partnerships, joint ventures, whatever it may be, but you have an opportunity to actually segue into those other forms of your business. And as long as you're here, and as long as you have that spirit of continuous improvement and optimism, you can actually flow into other spaces. And that's extremely important, again, because if you don't take inventory of that, then what typically happens is you may stay in that mourning state for too long, right? They call that, you know, one of the stages of grief is when, you know, you're too angry, or you're still shocked by what took place, but you fail to graduate to the point where you actually acknowledge what took place and you're able to move forward. So without that, you can actually be paralyzed. As long as you know there's air, there's equals opportunity. That's right.
So all this time, when I was saying to people, only thing between us is space or air and opportunity, I was talking mogul talk. See, I thought I was talking, you know, ghetto. see, we are moguls in the making. If you have ever said the only thing that's separating us is space and opportunity, you've been preparing yourself for the business resilience series. See, you this is good stuff right here. See, that's number 3. Hey, nothing. Air equals opportunity. See,
air,
it's destiny.
Air
it's destiny.
Equals opportunity. That's right. Air equals opportunity. What makes it an opportunity is your action, right? The air is just the space.
I make sure I get through all 5.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Thank you, man.
I like this.
And number 4 is for your eyes only, right? For your eyes only is when they are blind to your vision, right? A lot of times we struggle as entrepreneurs, even as, you know, even in the creative space, right? I'm sure there were many times there's something that you wanted to do, something that you were about to do, and as someone asks you, they made the cardinal mistake of asking what you up to, man. You went ahead and told them. You told them, and then what you remember the look they gave you in their face? You remember that awkward pause, and do you remember that blanket response they gave you? Well, all right. Well, that cool. Well, that's, you know, hey, I wish you the best of luck. If there's anything I can do, right? So everybody's gotten that response.
You lucky if you get
what
that.
I'm talking about. Right,
if anything I can do, that's a more positive response than most people probably get. Most people get,
right.
But how many people really? I don't know if you could. The chances of you.
They start projecting their fears on you, right? They project their limitations on you, and at the end of the day, there's a positive and a negative side to that, right? Obviously, if you're looking at it from a standpoint of what wisdom can I pull from it, there's something there that may be a blind spot that maybe is shored up, right? You can actually see it and say, well, you know what? I'm gonna take that into account. There's the other part when you look at who, you know, the source of it, and you say, okay, I get why you're saying that, because you're coming from a different place, right? And then, of course, there's the other component, and that is looking at yourself, actually reflecting and say, well, why don't they get my vision? So part of this twist here, when you know, people are blind to your vision, when they don't see it, part of it is also how much of a good job are you doing communicating, vision casting, and how much are we really in a space where we want to be more collaborative in our overall energy and our objective of engaging others, right?
Let me get to number 5 before they're going to try to send us to commercial. I'll make sure before we close out, we get all of these in. So for
I
your eyes
appreciate
only
that.
is number 4, and number 5
Yep.
is what?
This one you're gonna love, man. This one is called Every P But Perfection. And this one is when I break down, I'm not gonna even give any more tips, but this one is just a breakdown, all with P's, right? Of how you need to, I'm talking about things like, like planning, like perception, like perseverance.
No,
So
you give him too much. Don't give him too much.
That's it.
You're listening to Donovan West, Business Resilience Series, Fox School of Business, Temple University. People are like, yo, I ain't got millions of dollars. How do I get involved in this? Let people know how they can get involved with this, brother.
Listen, this is free.
What?
Just hit me up. This
Free
is free,
game.
okay? Free game, okay? All they need to do is go to Fox School of Business, right? They have the SBDC, the Small Business Development Center. They can go ahead and find it through that channel, or you could just go ahead and email me, and then what I'll do is I'll forward the email over to the powers that be, and they'll send you an invitation. My email, I put it in the chat, but it's donovanswest@gmail.com. You can just go through that one. That way I know any email that I receive from this period forward on the topic, I can forward them directly to the coordinator for the series. But thank you so much for talking.
No, thank you,
to me
brother.
about
Donovan
this, man.
S. West at gmail.com. Donovan S. West at gmail.com. Again, Donovan West is working with the Business Resilience Series at the Fox School of Business at Temple University. Thank you so much just for kicking off the show with free game and good game to get our minds and our money right. I appreciate you, good brother.
No, I appreciate you.
Much.
I'll see you in the space, man. Peace.
Yes, sir. This summer is the perfect time to come out and come up. If you're looking for a new job, you've got to check out our new livelihood job portal. Some of Philadelphia's top companies want you. That's right, they want you. Our WURD listeners to apply. We've got jobs in marketing, customer service, tech, and more. Go to the livelihood job portal right now to check out jobs and apply at wordworks.com. That's WURD works.com, and click jobs. I am the rapping professor filling in for the great brother Shamari. Grounding today on WURD, and we're going to keep the party going on the other side. You're listening to Word, y'all. Shout out to Brother Jordan.
Stand with Word Radio,
the only black-owned talk radio station in Pennsylvania.
Did you know you can join the 4Word movement and amplify voices of the black community as a digital member for as low as $5 per month? Visit membership at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875. We need you. Show your support. Start or renew your 4Word membership today. This Word Wellness vignette is brought to you by Penn Medicine. Word Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness
and motivation.
This is Helana, your resident expert health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Let's talk about bringing laughter into your home. Have you ever looked at someone you didn't know and burst out laughing? Me neither. But I know when the feeling of spontaneous laughter overcomes me, there is no stopping it. A smile truly is worth 1,000 words. And these days, we need more of them. Wouldn't you agree? Did you know smiling can reduce your blood pressure, decrease your stress, and relax the body? In fact, children are known to smile 400 times a day, while the average adult only smiles 14 times per day. It's time we all tapped into our inner child. Bringing laughter back into your home can look like this. Watch a funny movie by yourself or with family. Revisit your favorite comedian's stand-up special, or take a dive down the YouTube rabbit hole of funny clips. Doodle, draw, or play a card game with the children in your life. See the world through their eyes. We sometimes think in order to laugh, we have to do specific things. Yet, we can choose to find the joy all around us every single day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with Word. Happy, healthy living.
Stay well with Word. Connect with us at wordradio.com. This Word Wellness vignette was brought to you by Penn Medicine, committed to improving the health and lives of those in our communities and beyond.
Need to replace your Social Security card? In most states, you can request one online with a My Social Security account. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can also get a proof of income letter, estimate and apply for benefits, and more. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Groundings
With Brother Shamari.
right now on Word Radio.
And wordradio.com.
It is WURD, WURD Radio. I am filling in. You know, this is like Aunt Viv, when they switched the Aunt Vivs on the Fresh Prince, and people said, wait, what? I'm just filling in for the day for the great brother Shamari on Groundings, just holding it down for the moment. I know people tuned in and was like, wait, what's going on? What happened? No, we're not confusing you. And we just want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. It is the right time. It is definitely the right station, and it is the right place. Make sure that y'all call up 1-866-361-0900 or 215-634-8065 on WURD. At this time, I'm hearing that we got Reverend Joe on the line. Reverend Joe, what's good?
The definition of luck is where opportunity meets preparation. And I want to tell Mr. Jordan, people judge you by the company that you keep. And you're in good company with our adopted son, the Reverend Professor. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Reverend Joe. How are you?
Yeah, fine. Call us. We got some project we're working on. We need your help on. But I'll get aside. Jordan is a fine young man. Between Savari and you, we got our hands full with trying to adopt people. But God bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. And remember, when you can't, God can. And when you won't, God will.
God will.
All right, bye-bye.
No, thank you so much for calling up. But good to hear your voice, Reverend Joe. Also, Ron on the line from North Philly.
How you doing, Professor?
Doing well, so how are you?
Well, I just want to say to you that the school that you graduated from, they allowed me to speak to a class of students in 2019.
Oh.
And my topic was community, and as an elder from the Norris Homes. I also spoke to the group of people that was from South Korea and different cultures of people that was there. And the professor at the class was Mr. Billy, Miss Jenny Shanker, and quite a few others there. And I was just glad to be able to remind those students with the various people that's in this country that we have our DNA in this country. And because of it, we have an opportunity. We have opportunity and a right to speak and to make this country and to make our lives better in this country. Do you remember Dr. Ann Hart?
Yes.
Well,
And
Dr. Ann Hart, I certainly had a chance to speak with her at the Tyler School of Art. And I'm saying all these things to say, sir, that it's very important that our elders that have life, we know that everything is not fair and balanced, but we can make a difference when we bring our knowledge. We bring our knowledge into different places and speak with our young men and women and tell them, yes, with all the things that's going on in the country, doctor, there's still hope for tomorrow. Just like WRD, Dr. Lomax, Dr. Walter Lomax had a thing over there. I'm actually a thing, it was an event that he attended. You know this, look what they have invested, sir. Just like your grandfather and you, I'm not pandering. Knowledge is a wonderful thing. I just hope that people will seek knowledge, and then you can make a difference. So my cup runneth over, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Appreciate you, good brother Ron. Again, 866-361-0900, 215-634-8065. One of the things that was very interesting, I was looking at a movie, an older movie from 1984. The movie was called The Brother from Another Planet. The Brother from Another Planet, 1984. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I really got to get back in tune with what the mainstream media is talking about and what the people are talking about. So I'm really pleased that you all had the opportunity to call in today, because you can see the books if you're watching online behind me. I am in my office and with the library, and I've been in these primary sources, and I haven't been getting a lot of the, the corporate media. So people say, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that? And usually I'm the first one to hear about it, but I've been like, no. And not just because most of it isn't true, but I'm really appreciative of the opportunity, to always get back in touch, with the community. I can tell you what I've been looking at, recently. First of all, I spoke at the Juneteenth celebration when they did the march over in West Philly, and I brought a book with me called Forced into Glory. There's a book called Forced into Glory, Abraham Lincoln's White Dream, by the master teacher, bless the ancestor, Lerone Bennett Jr. And Lerone Bennett Jr. was, a renowned historian, and he wrote a book about Abraham Lincoln that was, in my humble opinion, one of the most honest and realistic and beneficial for African Americans ever to be written. Forced into Glory, Abraham Lincoln's White Dream. I'm trying to go 300 years in the past because I know that since I've been away, since you've been away, cancel culture got crazy. And I know there's so many things you can't talk about today because every day I hear about another celebrity getting canceled. I was looking through the list of things that were happening in the world, and I said, well, they talk about vaccinations. I said, all right, cross that out. You can't talk about that. They said there was a rage about Bill Cosby's presumption of innocence since the thing was vacated. See, people get mad just because I said that it happened. I didn't vacate the sentence. I didn't write the Constitution. I didn't put out innocent to proven guilty. People already getting triggered. I'm saying what you can't talk about. I'm just naming what you can't talk about before my mic goes up. Right? So I crossed that out, right? All this Jeffrey Epstein stuff and Bill Gates can't talk about that. And then they was like, how are the Democratic leadership doing that? Don't you dare, right? And then they was asking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. I said, I could name you a good 30 things I can't talk about, but I don't know what. I said, let me ask the people. Let me ask the people. But this is rapping Professor Aaron Smith filling in for Brother Shamari Grounders, because I remember how many things that we've talked about. There was a man just talking about getting along. His name was Martin Luther King Jr. There was a man just talking about getting along and getting your fair share and your fair shake and not being in support of capitalism, racism, and militarism, and they murdered that man. He was a drum major for justice, so walking. I mean, so I know in 2021, where the fun has just begun, people back outside, but people still living lives. I said, y'all got to call me up and tell me what is acceptable to talk about, because you can't talk about nothing nowadays. I can't talk about Lil Nas X. I can't talk about Donald Trump. There I go, Donald Trump. That's what you can still talk about. I could sit up here and talk about January 6th, Donald Trump, and that's one thing that you can get in the mainstream and you can talk about, because y'all 866-361. Let me show you some more books. 0900-215-634-8065. I've been telling my students to lay low and stay out the way. I was looking at the facial recognition databases, primarily of innocent people. You know, when y'all be unlocking y'all phones with y'all faces, and I was reading all these stories, from Snowden and others, about how they are utilizing facial recognition in these law enforcement agencies, and a lot of these major companies that deal with facial recognition in the technological world are giving access to their databases to law enforcement agencies, even if you've never done anything wrong. Let me read. Stop talking. Rich thanks to racism. That's another one I'm looking at. Rich thanks to racism, how the ultra wealthy profit from racial injustice, by Jim Freeman. I know I got some readers. I know I got me some readers. So I think I'm a little, you're a little safer just going through the books, So Randall Robinson, The Debt. That's an old, oldie but goodie, favorite. What America Owes the Blacks. Interestingly enough, the conversation reparations. I guess. I mean, you can never talk about reparations, so you might as well just go ahead and this whole conversation about whether to talk about reparations. I commend Amber Ruffin. If you haven't watched the video by the sister Amber Ruffin, the comedian and commentator, has her own late night show on Peacock Network. Amber Ruffin did a piece about beyond Tulsa and the history of African-American towns that were submerged underwater when various municipalities made plans to create lakes in those areas. And this happened numerous times, where African-American communities were submerged underwater. Amber Ruffin, you can watch it on YouTube, and I implore you to go ahead and check that out, because I do a lot of studying, and the extent of that history I was not aware of. So make sure you check that out. Beyond Tulsa by Amber Ruffin on YouTube. And it talks about the history of these. Oh, maybe I can play some audio. I don't know if I can play some audio. Brother Jordan, you'll let me know if I can play some audio. If I can play some audio, you let me know, and I'll play that, a little piece of that. But they said in one instance, the town was still under the water, and the people would, they've been boating and everything else, throughout the summer, just having a good old time, when schoolhouses and homes and churches were just below the water from these all-black towns. Now, we've heard about situations like Seneca Village, later called Central Park, and other places where these all-black towns, like Rosewood, if you watch the movie, and we just had the 100-year anniversary of Tulsa and the race riots, the massacre, from Black Wall Street. And people have heard about, how, they've had eminent domain and urban renewal, and they ran freeways through these black areas and all black towns. But this whole idea about submerging these black towns underwater is something that, it isn't very popular. So I'm glad to help to bring that knowledge to the fore. And if I get an opportunity, I think Brother Jordan's going to help to make me a co-host, and I'll be able to share, some of the audio with the good people probably right after this next break. I'll come back after the break, and I'm going to play for you a little bit of the clip of Amber Ruffin beyond Tulsa and the history of people submerging all black towns. Because people are still saying, why can't y'all do it? I had to correct somebody the other day who was talking about how long the black dollar stays in the community. And I said, there could be true statements that could be made that could be dangerous if not given in proper context. If you don't tell somebody the context of why the black dollar doesn't stay in the community or how we even got here, even if we want to stress respectability politics and the necessity for personal accountability within the community, which I completely agree with, we still have to put it in context, or else we can unintentionally pathologize or perpetuate a pathology about black people, like we're different, less capable financially, or we're more impulsive than other people, by design or biologically predisposed to just not handle wealth well. If you don't give people an understanding of, you can't just say these people, their dollar goes around 50 times and us only for a half hour one time. Like, you can't leave it there, because people are going to say, why is that? How did we get here? Was that always the case? Right? But if you say, well, when you tried to have your own, we bombed it, we put it underwater, we burned it, we did eminent domain, then you go, oh, that's how we got here. We still have to be responsible, and we still have to take accountability for correcting it. But when you don't put it in the proper context initially, sometimes people could develop a defeatist mentality and pathologize their own community. And oftentimes you find people blaming us for all the ills of our society, even the aspects of it, 80% I would argue, that we didn't create. And when you do that, there's two things that happen. People get low self-esteem, they get pessimistic, and they don't see the possibilities of what could be done. And they also start to feel as though they don't have the capabilities, because that's just who they are. So you do not want to, we got so many people on the line. I got to get back to these lines. B from Delaware, you're on with Word, with Grounding. I'm filling in for Brother Shamari, the Rapping Professor. Good afternoon, B.
Good afternoon, Dr. Aaron X. Smith, also JB, and the worldwide Word family. You ever wake up, Professor, and your week, your year, all of the nonsense that's been going around just seems to dissipate because you have such great confidence in you young people in terms of your knowledge, your competence, your ability to aspire us, and just knowing we're going to be okay because you're there with the ball. We just need to sit back, give you all of the support you need, and let you go. I am so happy to hear your voice at a time when we're coming out of post-COVID. Everything is so confusing. We're post-Biden, and all of your predictions have come to fruition.
Don't say that, B. Don't say that. Don't remind them of what I told them was going to happen. I'm just joking.
But it did.
Between me and you, though, B. Not that we on the air with thousands of people, but between me and you, B, I did predict a lot of what they thought wasn't going to be the case. And they was like, no, we're going to push him when he get in office. They need to call me up and tell me how they pushing is going. How's all that pushing going? And what all these laws all us black folks got for saving this? Let me not. See, B, you're going to get me started, B. You're going to get me started telling the truth.
No, wait a minute, hold up. Because let's look at Juneteenth. We haven't got George Floyd. We haven't got any voting rights correction. Juneteenth came in. Senate did it on Tuesday. House did it on Wednesday. Biden signed it on Thursday. And jurisdictions across the country were celebrating it on Friday. 4 days, 100 and some years later. It's called political will. I look at the cabinet, I look at the agenda, I see every time something comes up someplace else, they're put to the head of the pack. The Afghanis are now going to be resettled here. The Asians got their issues addressed in a hate crimes bill. We're still looking at anti-lynching. John Lewis got a ship named after him, but we can't get the John Lewis voting rights bill. We keep getting these victories which give us symbolism but do nothing to move our agenda, and we keep talking about we're okay. I'm at this spot with this political thing, particularly on the national level, where I'm looking at both wings of the bird. I don't care what party you call it, you're doing nothing to move the agenda. And black people, African American people, need to call themselves African American people. Our experience is unique, and this people of color and everybody else's agenda being supported by us while we continue to get to the back of the line has got to stop, Professor. We have to insist that the political will, the same political will that gave us Juneteenth, and but by the way, we got Juneteenth, but we got the holiday. Go stand outside of the city, the county, state, and federal offices and see who goes in to work. They got the payday. We got the holiday. More symbolism. It's just the first step in acknowledging it's time and past time for reparations and some correction here. Professor,
I got to go to commercial real quick, B.
Ecstatic to hear your voice.
Well, thank you so much, B from Delaware. I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll start with a little clip from Amber Ruffin talking about these black towns being placed underwater. And I'm filling in for Brother Shamari on grounding. This is the rapping professor, Aaron Smith. And yeah, I guess at some point we do got to talk about, the fact that there was an executive order put in place, based on the rash of Asian hate crimes. So they did get an executive order in roughly 5 weeks, and we have been waiting 400 years. So I think that's worthy of conversation in the black media. But there were some politicians saying, if you think I'm gonna do something just for black folks, no. So I gotta weigh all of that. But H.R. 1280 is the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And if somebody wants to do something, they could definitely do that. And there's also I'm gonna get on the other side. Brother Jordan, the rap professor, you're learning with words, y'all. Brother Wasset on the other side also.
Build skills needed for employment through the Philadelphia Skills Forward Initiative, a free upskilling program for workers displaced by the pandemic, those whose jobs are at risk for automation, and black and brown workers. Complete courses focused on digital literacy, career management, and professional skills for a successful career. Get started today at chamberphl.com.
Join WURD Radio for the 10th annual Black Star Film Festival, happening online and in person August 4th through August 8th. Enjoy over 80 films from around the world, as well as panel discussions and a daily morning show, virtually at blackstarfest.org. In Philadelphia, join us in person for free nightly screenings at Eakins Oval, August 3rd through 7th, opening and closing parties, and an all-day series at the Man on Sunday, August 8th, concluding with a screening of HBO Max's Eyes on the Prize, Hallowed Ground. Black Star is the premier film festival highlighting black, brown, and indigenous artists. For tickets and information, visit blackstarfest.org/festival. WURD Radio is a proud media partner for the 2021 Black Star Film Festival.
So, what's the asking price on these houses?
You'd probably be more comfortable living somewhere else.
How long a lease is the landlord looking for?
Well, I'm sure you can afford to live here, but...
What are the schools like in this district?
Yeah, we have twins in the 5th grade.
This neighborhood isn't really for your kids. You know what I mean?
If you're black, Latino, Asian American, or Middle Eastern, and a real estate agent or rental agent says anything like this, you know what it means. You're being discriminated against. Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD. Go to HUD.gov/fair housing. That's HUD.gov/fair housing. Fair housing. The law is on your side. A message from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Groundings
with Brother Shamari
right now on WURD Radio
and WURDRadio.com.
900 AM, WURD, the rapping professor, filling in for Brother Shamari. I got to get to the phone lines first, and I'm going to go and play the clip that I was talking about, Amber Ruffin talking about Beyond Tulsa, the secret history of flooding black towns to make lakes. I'm just going to play a clip from that. But Brother Wasset is on the line. How are you, Brother Wasset?
My brother. Now, you know this is a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming.
But guess what? All I'm gonna say is that a brother been waiting, but he never gave up the faith, you know. And you know I did a couple of predictions, you know, in the past. So I got another prediction, but I'm not gonna put that out there right now.
Don't do it to him, brother. Don't do it.
No, brother, not yet. But
you heard what the business brother said. He said, what, that's number 4. For Your Eyes Only was number 4 with the business the resilience initiative that Donovan West was talking about. So number 4, brother, for Your Eyes Only for now.
Yes, indeed. So, you know, listen, you know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, the truth is the light, you know, and so those of us who are soothsayers of the culture, it's hard for us not to tell the truth, you know, because that's just basically what we represent. We represent that beacon of light. And again, my brother, I didn't already put the word out. You know, so I'm like, yo, y'all need to tune in. The rapper professor's on, and you know he's about to drop that knowledge. So again, we appreciate you. We appreciate your energy. Can you do us a favor? You know, I know that in your absence you've been extremely busy. You know, so if there are some handles, you know, maybe on social media, where we can kind of follow you to possibly support you, or just know what's going on.
Well, interesting you said that, good brother, because I was telling my class, like I mentioned earlier, about laying low and staying out the way. Because I really believe that we are in a moment of a level of cancel culture that people need to be mindful of. I alluded to the increase in the facial recognition database and the oversensitivity to certain distractions and feelings to create the type of opportunity to maintain this imbalance of symbolism over substance. See, what Sister B alluded to when she talked about symbolism over substance was you have to create the environment and the type of mentality where those type of charades can be put in front of a people and they can mistake or conflate one with the other. See, if people have a business mind, shout out again, brother Donovan West, right? If people have a business mind, then somewhere within that conversation, usually in the whole conversation, at least in the back of their mind, they have a concern for the bottom line or the way said activities, events, or components of said conversation impact the bottom line. If I'm a businessman and you talking about all this other stuff, in the back of my mind, I'm like, bruh, let's get to the money though. Sounds good, but the money, right? Just like a revolutionary is going to be like, sounds good, dashiki looks good, black hand is up, you got the hashtag, but show me, right, the liberation, right? So if you can uproot somebody's consciousness and have it just swaying to and fro and not anchored and rooted and firmly foundationally located in liberation, in economics, in education, in health, or just in reality, if you can uproot somebody and if they've never been rooted, right, then you could just have them swaying in the wind and you could say, hey, we took down a statue, ain't you happy? Oh, you got a holiday, go have a barbecue. Oh, that person's face is black just like yours, even though they promote imperialism and modern day colonial conquest, right? But they're black, but it's a woman, but it's a this and that, is a right. See, the goal is to create an environment. And you create an environment, if you ever play pin the tail on a donkey, by spinning people around till they don't know which way is up, left, or right. And then they just go poking in the dark and end up missing the mark. Poking in the dark, end up missing the mark. See, what we're experiencing right now is a proverbial game of pin the tail on the donkey. And we are playing try to make progress for black people, and they keep spinning us around, and by the time they finish spinning us around, we talking about the baby's comments and January 6th of audio tapes and who's gonna force somebody to get a shot or not, and like we done spun around so much. What happened to the George Floyd Act, right? Most people can't even tell you the numbers. That's why I keep saying HR 1280 is the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, right? Because I remember it was Brother Clyde called me up one day and said we need to do away, you know, with these officers, you know, having these exemptions as far as, you know, not being culpable or being able to be sued on the job. And he brought all this issue to my attention. I started looking it up and we started talking about it on the air. And I was like, when did we stop needing that to be, you know, at the forefront of the struggle? When did the George Floyd Act? How is it that we have the 100-year anniversary of Tulsa and we didn't have a conversation about reparations? These people are still alive and not getting paid or compensated. Meanwhile, they're giving me a holiday. Like, the only way you can get somebody to celebrate before the reason to celebrate is eat. Oh my gosh, Professor, you back that quick? But the only way you could get somebody to can you imagine somebody saying, we're going to celebrate your birthday a month earlier? You're going to be like, no, I'm celebrating. Maybe some of y'all might celebrate all month, but it's still the month of your birthday, right? Because it just wouldn't add up. It wouldn't make sense. It would seem like it would be problematic to, you got people having you celebrate a freedom while you still on a plantation with the, oh my gosh. Can you imagine people still working on a plantation but celebrating emancipation? Can you imagine that? Since we on Juneteenth, let's use that as an analogy. Right? You have a whole party, you do the cakewalk, you do the whole parade, harvest festival, you know, for the master, a royal rumble where they used to blindfold the black children for the entertainment of the white master. You saw that in Django and in the James Brown story, and Jack Johnson was also, when he grew up, that's how he got started fighting. They used to, you know, watch the black children fight for the entertainment of the white man. So you do all that to celebrate your liberation, emancipation, and then somebody says, all right, back to work. Because that's what we did, literally, right? You get a day off, then it's back to work. Juneteenth is over, back to work, right? So the tragic irony of the people who are receiving symbolism having less cause to celebrate, but doing more celebrating than those who actually have received substance. You don't see other people out in the street. They just got an executive order in the Asian community. They ain't had no parade. They ain't no barbecue. They was like, good, leave us alone or watch out, right? Because they was speaking a different language. They were speaking the language of substance. But when you've been conditioned, I'm gonna put it in context. I don't want to pathologize my people or have anybody thinking that there's something different about us. I'm saying that we have been conditioned. They used to call it seasoning in the Caribbean. They call it slave breaking on the plantation. But we have been conditioned to lust and overly value celebration because for so long, that's all we had. If you're not gonna get paid anything for any of your labor for your entire life, then the cakewalk, and just like the spiritual can mean your escape. The cakewalk could be the only time that you can have an affront to the master without him knowing, right? The harvest festival could be some of the only time you can blow off steam. And that's why Frederick Douglass was critical of some of these sporting events, not because of the camaraderie or the competition. He was critical because he thought that that was the slave master's way of having them blow off steam to prevent the likelihood of revolt. So when you have a people who have been conditioned for hundreds of years to celebrate, but not to liberate, let me just go back and play. This is Amber Ruffin, Beyond Tulsa, the rapping professor, filling in for Brother Shamari. I'm trying to help ground the people, you know, in the theme of my brother's show. I just want to make sure that we, let me play this audio. Let me see what I got here. Brother Jordan is on the board. He helped me to be a host. If you're watching online, you can see it. I'm just going to play about a minute and a half. And just bear with me, because if you never heard about this story of black towns, you know, being flooded in order to make lakes, I'll put the link in the description.
Years, more Americans have become familiar with the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre, where a white mob burned a vibrant black community to the ground, which is crazy. Even crazier, dozens of other black towns have been erased off the American map, not by burning them down, but by hiding them underwater. Don't know what I mean? Well, let's find out in a segment called How Did We Get Here? This is Lake Lanier. It's a lake in Forsyth County, Georgia, where people go swimming and boating and fishing and do a bunch of other lakey things. But before it was Lake Lanier, it was a town called Oscarville, Georgia. Now, Oscarville was a thriving, predominantly black community with a church, a school, and dozens of homes, until the year 1912, when a very bad thing happened. Two very bad things.
Not the Titanic.
In 1912, two black teenagers were accused of rape. They were tried, convicted, and sentenced to death in a single day. And after they were executed, a mob of white men terrorized, drove out, or killed all the black people in the surrounding area. And they did that until the entire black community of Oscarville disappeared. The county went from having over 1,000 black residents in 1912 to 0 in 1920. That story is so sad, it makes this story look like a comedy.
Titanic.
After the black community had been run off, the white people of Forsyth County said, you know what we could use? A big old lake. So they made one, right where the town of Oscarville had just been. They flooded the area and literally covered up the entire town with water. This is what it looks like right now. But the town is still under there. The homes and churches and schools, they're still down there. And now people go boating on top of them.
Let me pause that right there, because I know there's somebody listening. I know I'm not the only one. It could have been me. It should. I know it was. I know I'm not the only one that did not know the details of this history. I know that I'm not the only one learning about this in 2021. And if I am, then there's some people that you know that are not. So if you already knew about it, then you need to go tell a friend to tell 10, because I'm telling you, from my perspective, as an educator who gets in contact with young people all the time, this is not common knowledge. Again, I'm playing the Amber Ruffin Show clip on YouTube. It's on the Peacock Network. This sister did a piece called Beyond Tulsa, The Secret History of Flooding Black Towns to Make Lakes. I need y'all to make sure, y'all can call up and tell me that. Call up and tell me if you knew. 866-361-0900 or 215-634-8065. I'm gonna play like 1 or 2 more minutes and we gotta go to commercial. But this is one of the reasons I heard Sister B said we have a unique history, and this is a part of it. After she talked about Seneca Village in Central Park, I'm gonna play another minute or so before we go to break.
Doing the research. So we are finally learning about places like Henry and McKee Islands, which is now located under Lake Guntersville in Alabama, and Vanport, Oregon, which is now located under Delta Park. And all of these towns, which are currently literally underwater.
Wow, Henry Island, Bayard, Elmore, Dillon, Jerusalem, Enfield, Massachusetts.
Hey, wait, hold on.
Wow, she just gave a whole list. I'm gonna read a couple of them before I go to break. But the whole list came on the screen. If you're listening and not watching, it's Henry Island, Alabama, Kennett, California, Bayard, California, Elmore, California, Morley, California, all black towns underwater. Warren, Maryland, Round Valley, New Jersey, Dana, Massachusetts, Enfield, Massachusetts, Greenwich, Massachusetts, Prentice, Mississippi, and all these places. When you go to school there, I bet you they don't tell you a darn thing because they too busy arguing about critical race theory when really they're arguing against the truth. Brown Station, New York, Old Neversink, Old Neversink, New York is underwater. All these black towns underwater to make lakes, and you can't find it in not one book, and that's why they falling out in these town halls right now, because the rabbit hole is so deep. The theft and exploitation and murder is so rampant. The privilege and entitlement and land theft is just so outstanding that even if we start to peel back the layers and tell some of the truth about the realities, that man, one of the most dangerous voices in the city and possibly the country is on the air right now, filling in for Brother Shamari Brown. It is yours truly, the rapping Professor Aaron Smith. On the other side, I'm gonna ask the people if they knew anything about this, but we need to talk, y'all. 866-361-0900, 215-634-8065. Just having a black face in the space ain't gonna get us to the place where we need to win the race. Let me do what I got to do. I tried to keep it calm. I was good for about 20 minutes, but now we got to talk and get it started for the bodies, for the towns, for the ancestors. It's time to rise up, be strong, be confident. There is so much good going on. I see the victory. I'm gonna say it like that. I say it all the time. When a fish is out of water, it starts flapping and getting violent and irrational, and that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at the truth, the ashes that were crushed to the ground like a phoenix. We're seeing them just rise up, right? Through the internet, we've seen them rise up through YouTube. They thought they was gonna keep these secrets, right? They had it in special places in the library, right? Underneath, the exhibit, you go down into the storage room and you see certain books and you see certain statues, but now, somehow, some way, the ancestors been calling and just they used to call it a chumming, the water, and churning like with the butter. See, there's something moving right now. There's something going on right now where people have a different appetite. They don't want to just see somebody that looks like them. They want to see somebody that fights for them. They don't want a symbol. They want some substance. There's something rising up within the community, within the people. There's an ancestral connection that people are feeling when they want to hear somebody speak truth, not just the power, but to speak truth for power. Oh, I'm going to say that one more time before I go to break. They don't just need somebody to speak truth to power. We need somebody to speak truth for power. It's time for us to get ours. And on the other side, we're going to keep it going. And I'm going to get started. It's the rap Professor Aaron Smith, and you listening to WURD. Shouts out to good brother Jordan. You're learning with word, y'all.
What's up, Philly? It's Solomon. With so much uncertainty surrounding the upcoming school year, now is the time to take charge of your child's education and give them the tools to make learning fun and safe. Check out Commonwealth Charter Academy, which can make a difference in your child's life. Commonwealth Charter Academy, or CCA, is a K-12 public cyber charter school with nearly 20 years of experience providing a flexible, stable, online education in the comfort of your home. Enroll today at ccaeducate.me. Your child will receive 1. A world-class accredited education streamed directly into your home at no cost to you. 2. A laptop, headphones, assistance with accessing the internet, and learning materials all provided at no cost to you. 3. A safe learning environment with no bullying or security concerns. Join the nearly 2,500 students from Philly who already attend CCA. The school year begins September 8th. Enroll now at ccaeducate.me.
Tune in to Denise Clay's Financial Literacy segment on Monday, August 9th at 3 p.m., sponsored by Wisfis Bank. For more information on boosting your financial know-how, visit the Knowledge Center at WSFSbank.com. Wisfis Bank, we stand for service.
Save the date. Thursday, August 26th for WURD Radio's annual Founders Day celebration, honoring the life of our founder, Walter P. Lomax Jr., MD.
This year will be both in person and virtual.
Stay tuned to WURD Radio and WURDradio.com for more information.
That's Thursday, August 26th for our annual Founders Day celebration.
Exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com, the WURD Radio app,
or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. This is WURD Radio,
96.1 FM
and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
Black Talk Media.
Groundings
with Brother Shamari.
Right now on WURD Radio
and WURDradio.com.
WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM. Aaron Smith, the rapping professor, filling in for Brother Shamari. Make sure that we keep the groundings going. 866-361-0900 or 215-634-8065. And this is beautiful because the online thing, you can have a whole class situation. Because now that I learned that educators are public enemy number one with this facade of critical race theory, shouts out to the ancestor Derek Bell and his influence on Kimberly Crenshaw and so many others that started, this legal analysis that was, critical race theory, which had some connections, I wouldn't say direct roots to critical theory, but this whole idea of having a different way of having the legal analysis implements the racialized perspective, especially how it impacts institutions and disproportionate justice and things of that nature. I think it's valuable. But one thing more interesting is that I've never in my life seen a school from K through 12 that taught critical race theory. So when they started complaining about critical race theory being taught in K through 12, I was like, nobody's teaching that. But then I said, see, you talking to a shyster and a trickster and a devil, right, that's wickedly clever, and you trying to have a logical, a realistic conversation, like when people deal with people with certain, psychoses, they don't talk about reality so much. They talk about, how to cure the person of the problems they're having. Because if you try to, talk to a person about facts that don't deal in facts, then you might be in a situation where, let me go ahead and get to these phone lines. Marva from Winfield, you're on the line.
Hello, Professor. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear from you. I haven't called in a long time. In fact, I've been listening, though, to WURD around the clock since the insurrection. I stopped looking at the news. I don't believe nothing they say. And when the insurrection came, I'm ex-military. I was so devastated that they handled it like they did, because Biden being the president, he should have took a part in that and said it was treason. They should all went to jail. But since they didn't handle it like that, I'm dealing with it different. But I thank God for WURD, and I never heard this history. Reverend Professor, can I tell you, you really wake us up with what's going on and what's happening. And I thank God for you and all the commentators on WURD, because I started listening to it around the clock. And I want to thank God for all the callers that call in all the time, because George and Fred and I love Brother Shamari's show too, but they have so much information. The callers they call in, and I thank God for all of them. And I'm praying for our young people, because this violent thing, it's a spirit that's out of control. We're in a spiritual warfare. But as I read in Habakkuk, the people that we think are going unpunished, because, you know, Habakkuk complained to God about it, how they would tear, just like they're doing the black people now. That's how they did the children of Israel. So when he found out that God was a fair and a just God, that these people were going to pay, he got satisfied. And so that's where we are now, walking by faith. And I'm praying for the young men that's out there in the streets, because their hearts are broken. And those of us who love God, we have to go before and lay prostrate, that God will lift them up in their hearts and their minds, because that's what it's all about now. But I want to say I love you. Professor, keep on. I'm going to have to come and take some of your black history classes, because you got it going on.
I hear you. No, thank you so much. And it made me think, there's a lot when the word talks about, you know, not envying, you know, the evil men, right? Even in the beginning of Proverbs, it talks about, you know, not following those people. I talked about a rapper named Slick Rick, who had a song called Children's Story, who basically gave a similar proposition where he said, me and you, son, we gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making a dash. And I talked about how in the word, it says, let us wait privily, you know, to shed blood on the innocent, you know, but you can't envy those that do evil and do wicked and don't follow them, right? And, you know, like, don't envy any of their ways, right? Of the oppressors. And in Proverbs 6:15, it talks about how their calamity will come suddenly, right? So they're going to get their day, and they come up is on the way, and you don't got to fight anybody's battle, because even yours is fought for you. I agree. Thank you. Pass the plate. But right now, Marva from Winfield, you're on the line. Marva? Can you hear me now, Marva? Maybe we can go to Gary in North Philly, Jordan, if we don't got Marva on the line. Oh, I'm sorry. I already took Marva. My bad, Marva. I shouted you out twice. That's all good. Gary from North Philly, let's do that.
Yes, sir, my brother. It's just great to hear your voice, man. You're educating us. God, keep it up, man. Where can we locate you other than WURD? I mean, we love hearing you here in WURD, but is there any other place that we can pick up some of your information, you know, maybe online or somewhere? Just let us know, man, because I need to hear it. I need to know what you know, and your education, man, is just outstanding, my brother. Much love.
Yeah, I appreciate that. One thing that I've learned is the importance of a break. And when there was a basketball player, I think he was talking about playing around the time of Stockton. He was talking about how there was a white athlete who would go to the chiropractor like every day before and after practice. And the other members of the team would tease this player, right? And I think I know the names. I don't want to get them wrong. And the one player would go to the chiropractor all the time. And the African-American athlete said, come to find out, I played for 3 seasons. He ended up playing for 11. Right. So there's something to be said about this marathon approach to activism, because oftentimes I see people get caught up. I watched when Tupac Shakur was saying every time he landed in a city, he had to go to court or the police station before he went to his concerts, because I study psychological police action and infiltration and how people try to tie you up and destroy you economically and psychologically, and even get those around you to turn against you. See, once they call it the anti-N-word machine in a Public Enemy song, when they get you between the evil good and the me, or when they get you in the anti. So once they get you in that mix, once they get you in that whirlwind, right? Once they make you the topic of conversation, whether you are Mike Tyson or Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby, once they start spinning you around with these stories. I remember that when the tabloids had a story about Michael Jackson every week, when they started calling him Wacko Jacko and Weirdo, and they started talking about his pet Bubbles, and they just kept it going and going. I said, once you get in that, it is so hard to escape it. And if you do, with any of your money or your sanity or your freedom, I said, you got to play chess with these devils. And sometimes when you see that the truth that you are giving is a little too much for the people, sometimes you got to wait for time to catch up with the truth you were trying to tell them. Ooh, give them the blueprint, Professor. Sometimes you got to plant the seed, give the message, make the declaration, and say, okay, believe what you want. I'll revisit this at a later date. And maybe when certain things come to pass, you'll be ready to hear the next phase of instruction or information. So sometimes when you know you're holding on to a truth, that is so dramatically different than the perception of the masses of the people and their delusion, you got to make sure that you protect yourself, because if you're the messenger and you're holding on to the message, if you're destroyed, sometimes the message could be lost. So I recognize when I saw Harvard deny tenure to Cornell West, when I saw Hannah Nicole, when I was, the author of the 1619 Project, my dear sister, who has more accolades personally than entire departments have in many of these universities in the nation, get denied tenure. I said, oh, I see where the attack is. I'm already a truth teller, and now the machine is coming through academia and through education. Now they're trying to put all this spotlight and all this negative energy and all this sensationalism where people are falling out in town halls and talking about not letting their kids go to school like they did for Ruby Bridges. I said, oh, maybe you wait this out. Like I've been doing a lot of investing, and when you got to watch the market, you got to see the temperament, the market sentiment, they call it. So the marketplace of ideas, the sentiment right now is not a heavy desire for brutal honesty and truth and predictive conversation. They're more likely to be susceptible to predictive programming, right? They'd rather be lulled to sleep, entertained, and given symbolism than to face hard truth and be told, man, listen. They say, where could they find me? They could find me stacking up. In the stock market, they call it consolidation. So best believe the rapping professor is getting his mind in shape. He's getting his money in shape. He's getting his body in shape. He's getting his team in order. But he knows that the hardest maneuver in military strategy is a disciplined retreat. And in order for you to have a disciplined retreat where you can reassemble, reassess, recalculate, re-strategize, and come back and try to win a war and not be so ego-driven that you lose the battle in your life, sometimes you got to look at those before you and see how they were infiltrated, see how they were suppressed, see how they were neutralized, see how their truth was destroyed, see how they got jaded and disenchanted, see the ways in which they were led to dependency and strung out, and say, wow, professor, you in a line where you got to look at what happened before you and see what's against you and make sure you could do what's best, not just for yourself and your family, your community, and for your people, but you got to make sure that you do what's best for the mission and the purpose for which you have been put on this planet. There's been a truth that is placed inside of you that mission and maintain that legacy.